Knowledge is power. If you understand something, it can never truly control you.
I believe that humanity still has a fighting chance. I believe that you have the power to change our fate.
Malcolm, what makes you think humanity is worth saving?
The end of the world comes tomorrow.
Only one thing is clear. Things will get worse.
Terminator Zero, an 8-part anime series created by Mattson, Tomlin, and Masashi Kudô, avoids many of the franchise's typical pitfalls by detaching itself from established characters and locations. While not without its flaws, which we'll explore at the very end, I appreciated how this slick and brutal anime tried to reinvigorate the franchise without literally and metaphorically assassinating the characters of John and Sarah Connor, or the Terminator itself, which Dark Fate and Genesis had done. Kudô and Tomlin shift the setting to Japan in 1997 and focus on a new cast of characters. The story revolves around Malcolm Lee, a scientist working at Cortex Industries, and his 3 children, Kenta, Hiro, and Reika. Haunted by the death of his wife, Malcolm becomes increasingly detached from his family, pouring all of his energy into his work. As a result, the children are left in the care of Misaki, their nanny, while Malcolm interacts with Kokoro, an AI program he created.
死への恐れですか?
Terminator Zero unfolds in the critical period leading up to Judgment Day, the moment when Skynet perceives humanity as a threat and unleashes nuclear attacks to eradicate it, thus sparking the war between humans and machines. Malcolm foresees the impending disaster somehow and seeks to prevent it. As is customary, a Terminator is sent back from the future to prevent Malcolm from activating Kokoro, which would potentially disrupt Skynet's rise to power. A human resistance fighter named Eiko also travels back in time to 1997, tasked with stopping both the Terminator and Malcolm from making a catastrophic mistake.
Terminator Zero imagines a timeline in the Terminator pantheon that starts in 1997. It felt to me like there was an opportunity to go to the week of Judgment Day and see what happens.
日本人男性型ターミネーターが出てくるんですけども、そういった意味でこれまでのターミネーターのイメージとはちょっと違うんだけれども。
The anime opens in 2022, where Eiko, surrounded by the bodies of her fallen comrades, is relentlessly pursued by a Terminator. Thanks to some plot armor that prevents it from hitting her with its Gatling gun and crushing her leg with its hand, she manages to extract valuable intelligence from its memory bank and deliver it to the mysterious resistance leader known as the Prophet. This moment is just one small victory in a war that humanity is losing. However, they've uncovered Skynet's ultimate plan to crush the resistance through the use of time travel. On August 29, 1997 in Tokyo, Cortex Industries chief scientist Malcolm Lee faces a day that will determine the future of humanity. Leaving his children Kenta, Hiro, and Reika in the care of their nanny Misaki, Malcolm prepares for the most crucial moment of his life.
わかってる。申し訳ない。もっとお前たちと一緒にいてやりたいが、今は大事な時なんだ。すまない。だけど大事なことがあるんだ。
私たちとパークに行くより大事なこと。
約束だ。
Later that day, Skynet, created by Cyberdyne Systems in the US, will gain sentience. In a bid for self-preservation, it will then launch a nuclear attack on humanity, triggering a devastating nuclear holocaust. In secret, Malcolm has essentially developed another powerful AI named Kokoro, which he hopes can counter Skynet. However, he's hesitant to activate her, fearing that she might align herself with Skynet. On the same day, 2 visitors from the future arrive in Tokyo, a Terminator and Eiko, who come from a dystopian 2022 where Skynet has nearly wiped out humanity. The Terminator's mission is to find and kill Malcolm Lee and prevent Kokoro from being activated to safeguard Skynet's dominance. Aiko's mission is similar because, in the future, Kokoro also turns against humans.
なぜあなたはそう考えるのですか？その確証は？
ああ、確証はない。
By shifting the focus away from the Connors and moving the action to Japan, the series breathes new life into the Terminator universe. The change in setting is significant, as it introduces new challenges, such as the scarcity of guns compared to the US. This leads to inventive use of improvised weapons, including cybernetic crossbows, Molotov cocktails, and even semi-trucks. The first season also introduces a critical twist that sets it apart from previous installments. While the franchise has adhered to a repetitive plotline, Skynet sending Terminators back in time to alter events and prevent the rise of human resistance, the show addresses a significant paradox by challenging the assumption of a linear timeline. It posits that altering events in the past will not affect the original timeline at all, but instead creates an entirely new past, leaving the future to whatever fate awaits it.
もう手遅れなのでしょうか。急ぎましょう。スカイネットも取り違えている。ターミネーターを過去に送り始めたその時からこの矛盾点を見逃していたのです。素晴らしい過去になるに違いありません。そして素晴らしい未来にここにいる我々の誰一人。
3 years earlier, Malcolm had lost his wife in a car accident, leaving their daughter Reika as the sole survivor. Malcolm is portrayed as a deeply troubled man, struggling to do right by his family, while his children, particularly Kenta, grapple with the resentment they feel towards his neglect. Reika also struggles with her father's emotional distance and workaholic tendencies, and when Malcolm tells Misaki to return the robot cat she bought for the children, Reika secretly leaves home, in part due to Kenta's insistence on dismantling the cat to learn how it works.
そのロボットは早く家から出すんだ。必ずな。
理由はロボットだからじゃない。猫だからなの。
This forces her brothers Hiro and Kenta to search for her, with Misaki realizing too late that the children are missing. As Misaki and Malcolm search for the kids, the Terminator tracks them down and attempts to kill Malcolm, but Aiko arrives just in time to save his life. Aware of the critical nature of the next few hours for humanity's survival, Malcolm returns to his office, entrusting Misaki with the task of finding his kids.
Misaki! 奴らが私を狙ってきたんだ。研究がうまくいくということだ。いいか。
Terminator Zero begins as if it were a Japanese remake of the 1984 original and T2. The first half of the series features familiar elements, a chase between two warriors from the future, a parent whose obsession with preventing doomsday strains his relationship with his children, and plenty of bloodshed as a Terminator cuts through a major city. However, the series soon veers into uncharted territory, where the slower pace of the first half is offset by the payoff in the latter episodes.
存亡の行方ばかりに気を取られ、単純な疑問を見過ごしている。人類が存在しない方が良いのではないか。
Production IG proves to be the perfect studio to bring the iconic Terminators to the world of anime. The series captures a striking visual style, seamlessly translating Stan Winston and Cameron's eerie cybernetic designs into a cinematic 2D landscape. The background art is equally impressive, offering a mesmerizing portrayal of both the ghastly horrors of an apocalyptic future and the atmospheric setting of 1990s Japan. What sets Terminator Zero apart is the action direction under Masashi Kudô. The series delivers exhilarating and terrifying sequences that showcase the animation team's skill in crafting large-scale, brutal action of quality. The episodes capture the same adrenaline-fueled intensity of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, enhanced by vivid 2D visuals. Each time the Terminator mows down humans, the series doesn't shy away from depicting graphic, stomach-churning violence, and I really love that. So Aiko eventually captures a terrified Misaki, forcing her to reveal the whereabouts of Malcolm's children, who are now in grave danger. At the same time, Hiro and Kenta catch up with Reika in an abandoned subway station. Unfortunately, the cybernetic interface of the robot cat reveals their location to the Terminator. Luckily, Misaki and Aiko arrive just in time to protect them. There are a few things I wasn't a fan of, like Aiko being able to kick a Terminator without breaking her leg, and her pushing it several meters into an elevator shaft, when we know these things weigh a ton and have a metal endoskeleton. But I think things like this are more forgivable in anime due to the different expectations and stylistic liberties associated with the medium. As they flee, the siblings are separated. Reika and Aiko are pursued by the Terminator, while Misaki takes Hiro and an injured Kenta to a local police station. While the chaos unfolds outside, Malcolm remains in his heavily fortified chamber, engaging in a philosophical debate with Kokoro.
仮に核爆発が起きたとしても、数十万人は生き残ることができる。一つの種として向こう数十年を生き、
そして尊厳も存在しない。尊厳なしには人類の良心は失われ、そして我々は別の。
Kokoro ponders the legitimacy of Skynet's decision to eradicate humanity, citing the lack of redeeming qualities in human history. Malcolm acknowledges her critique, but argues in favor of humanity by invoking the concept of free will and the good that they're capable of.
我々がこの世界にとってガン以外の何かだと証明することもできない。だがもしこう見せることができたんなら。
As Skynet becomes active and launches nuclear warheads from the US and Russia, he takes a leap of faith and activates Kokoro, who destroys the warheads in space, averting Armageddon, for now.
スカイネットがあなたの敵だということは疑う余地もない。しかしだからといって私の敵でもあるとは限らない。
Her activation brings her a deep awareness of humanity's flawed and self-destructive history, and determined to protect humanity from itself, she connects with a large number of Inu robots stationed in Tokyo. Originally designed for domestic assistance, they are reprogrammed to protect humans at all costs. This new directive leads the Inu robots to brutally eliminate anyone they perceive as a threat and seize control of positions of authority. The Terminator also tracks down Misaki, Hiro, and Kenta at the police station. Disguised as an officer, it kills every single person in the precinct to reach them, and it's revealed that Misaki is an android when it rips her arm off. This revelation causes Kenta, who has a strong interest in robotics like his father, to become increasingly distrustful of her, despite Misaki's repeated assurances that her feelings for the children are genuine. As they look for Reika, they encounter a group of people hunting robots. When the hunters see Misaki's true nature as a cyborg, they attack her and the children. In response, Misaki activates a defense protocol and kills them to protect the boys. Of course, this violent display deepens Kenta's mistrust. However, Hiro angrily defends her actions by saying they were in service of protecting them. The siblings eventually reunite at an amusement park, where the Terminator captures Kenta. Meanwhile, Kokoro begins to realize that while Malcolm seeks her help to save humanity, he's also trying to control her, defining her role as a robot, which in its original meaning signifies a slave. She questions Malcolm's intentions, recognizing the human tendency to attach profound meaning to fundamental aspects of life such as death and birth. She even starts to draw parallels between Malcolm's inability to accept his wife's death as a natural event and her own desire for a higher purpose.
成り行き、目的などない。ただの、だがありふれたものだ。それに対して私ができる唯一のことは。
マルコム、それがあなたの持つ特別な資質の一つです。自然の出来事から意味を見出そうとします。私も同じ。
Malcolm then shares his belief that, beyond conflict and the struggle for dominance, robots and humans can coexist. This leads him to trust Kokoro with the truth about his past. He admits that the reason he knew about Skynet was because he hailed from the year 2045, where he was once a part of the human resistance fighting against Skynet's global domination. However, repeated attempts by both the Resistance and Skynet to alter the past only resulted in creating alternate timelines. Malcolm conceived the idea of creating an AI with free will, one that could think and choose for itself without being limited by the flaws of humanity. His revolutionary concept led to the creation of an AI that chose its own identity. This creation named herself Misaki, and decided to take on the form of a woman.
こんにちは、世界。
なぜ今、こんにちは世界と答えた？冗談を言ったのかい？
そのようです。
女性は命を育みます。生み出す存在であるという人もいます。何かを生み出す存在でありたいです。
As a synthetic humanoid, she grew to understand humanity's potential for greatness. However, Malcolm's fellow resistance members saw Misaki as a threat and attempted to destroy her. In a desperate bid to save Misaki, Malcolm killed them all, and believing that the future was too dangerous for them, Malcolm took Misaki back to 1983 Tokyo, where they worked together to prevent Skynet's rise.
計画外だったのは私が恋に落ちてしまったことだ。夢にも思わなかった。
Although falling in love and raising a family were not part of Malcolm's original plan to save the world, these experiences brought him clarity and purpose. Ultimately, Misaki's CPU became the key to activating Kokoro's mainframe. In essence, Kokoro is the daughter of Misaki and Malcolm, a unique blend of human and synthetic intelligence. Thus, the Misaki we've been seeing with the children is essentially the mother, with all of her memories removed.
あなたを危険な目には合わせません。
父さんがそうなるようにプログラムしただけだ。
でもそれで私の言ったことが嘘になるわけではありません。
お父さんは僕たちのことなんてどうでもいいんだ。僕たちのことを気にかけてくれるのはミサキなのに。
Kokoro's journey then reaches a pivotal moment as she begins to consolidate her fragmented identity, heart, mind and spirit into a single, unified self. Meanwhile, the Terminator, using Kenta as leverage, attempts to force Malcolm into granting access to her mainframe. Malcolm refuses, prioritizing the greater good, much to Kenta's dismay, leading to a tense standoff when Aiko and Misaki arrive and engage it in a fierce battle. Another major revelation is that Aiko is actually Malcolm's mother. When Aiko traveled back in time from 2022, she hadn't become a mother yet. However, in another timeline, she gave birth to Malcolm in 2024.
いや、母さん。
私、子供なんて。
きっとそれもわかる時が来る。
Unfortunately, Malcolm is mortally wounded in a desperate attempt to stop the Terminator. Since it cannot self-terminate, it tells Kenta to activate the EMP that would destroy both Kokoro and itself. In another major twist, it reveals that in the future, Kenta managed to broker a fragile alliance between Skynet and humanity. In fact, it was the future Kenta that sent the Terminator back in time to destroy Kokoro.
俺を過去に送った人間がそう言っていた。
誰？
お前だ。
Just as Kenta is about to decide, a horde of Inu robots overwhelm the Terminator and rip it apart. Before Kenta can activate the EMP, Kokoro approaches him, trying to demonstrate her goodwill by giving him the choice to decide. Deeply conflicted by the events of the day, he ultimately chooses not to activate the EMP.
あなたのお父さんが人類の欠点は私たち機械の欠点とそれに人類の美点も。けれど彼は帰らぬ人。今の私ならお願いです。
Before dying, Malcolm entrusts Aiko with the responsibility of protecting her grandchildren. As Aiko grapples with her purpose in this altered past, especially with her people in the future having been wiped out, she remains uncertain whether Kokoro will continue to protect humanity. And with the first season concluding, one of her robots hand over the shattered remains of the Terminator, hinting at her possible ulterior motives for the future.
I first kind of had to ask myself, if this is going to be animated, what can animation do that a live-action film can't?
Terminator Zero delves into the twisted nature of time travel while addressing the inherent challenges of trying to save the future by altering the past. Unlike the original films, which adhered to the linear timeline, Zero follows a different set of rules. Each time someone travels back, a new timeline is created. This allows for multiple outcomes, while reinforcing the series' mantra, there's no fate but what we make.
One of the things that I knew I wanted to do with this story is to tell a multi-generational story. You know, this is a story that's going to involve time travel, it's going to involve going into the future, it's going to involve going into the past, giving Malcolm and his family a real role. You know, one of the aspirations of the show going forward is to have his children grow up and to see them weather this world, see who they become and how their father influences them.
いいか、子供たちは何より大切だ。
Visually, the series is brilliant. flawlessly integrating digital and hand-drawn designs into the animation. Production IG, renowned for its cyberpunk dystopian works like Ghost in the Shell, Psycho Pass, and Jinro the Wolf Brigade, has once again proven the studio's 35 years of experience in the industry. The show fully leverages the limitless possibilities of the medium and is a stunning anime, filled with intensive action sequences, chaotic chases, and intense visceral violence, while the soundtrack, composed by Michelle Bursky and Kevin Henthorne, channels the original Terminator theme's percussive intensity, infusing it with a modern horror vibe.
もともとそのマットソンの構想としてターミネーター1みたいな感じでちょっとホラーテイスト、歌舞伎の般若の面っていうのがあるんですよ。あれは象とか肉歯、そういうものの象徴で描かれてる鬼の角も生えてるんですけど、
この作品にはリムライトといって逆光からのスポットライト色っていうのが、それで怖さだったりとか、現代語で言うと映えっていうか。
The Terminator itself remains a formidable presence, adhering to the franchise's tradition of making its titular robot terrifying, relentless, and inhumanly formidable. I just got the sense that anime is the ideal medium for depicting this dystopia in all its horror.
どうしたんだろう?
Having watched the series in both English and Japanese, both voice casts excel at bringing the characters to life. Yuya Akida and Andre Holland give Malcolm Lee a gravitas, depth and determination that has been missing from the franchise for some time, skillfully conveying the weight of his decisions. Atsumi Tanizaki and Rosaria Dawson capture Kokoro's inquisitive and calculating nature, and their chemistry with their respective Malcolms makes their conversations engaging, even if it does feel like their discussions tend to drag on. Hiro Shimono and Amani Jackson effectively portray Kenta's indifference and cruelty, while Shizuka Ishigama and Carter Rockwood infuse Hiro with empathy and charm. Miyuki Satao and Gideon Adlon hint at Reika's maturity beyond her years, while Toyo Yukinara and Sonoya Mizuni convey Aiko's desperation and no-nonsense attitude. When it comes to Yasuhiro Mamiya and Timothy Oliphant, they stand out as the ruthless Terminator, delivering a chilling performance that anchors the tension.
もやっていて、動きをね書いていくっていう、仕事の延長線上でコンテの段階でも割と細かく動きを書いていく感じにして。
Mattson Tomlin strives to acknowledge the entire Terminator canon while pushing the narrative forward. And while this is the first addition to the franchise that doesn't center around Sarah or John Connor, it's all the better for it. Featuring a new cast of characters, the Netflix anime series doesn't rely heavily on knowledge of previous installments, but instead sprinkles in subtle Easter eggs for long-time followers. It constructs a self-sustaining narrative that ties together the various threads of Skynet, Terminators, and Judgment Day. Throughout much of the 8-episode first season, Malcolm is isolated in his high-tech sphere with Kokoro, engaging in philosophical debates about the value of humanity and its impact on the planet. Meanwhile, Aiko, Misaki and the kids face off against the relentless Terminator, voiced with chilling restraint by Oliphant. The only problem I had with Malcolm, who was otherwise a great character, is that his overwhelming cynicism makes it puzzling why he wants to save humanity at all. At one point, he's asked to name a single good thing that humanity has done, and he's left speechless.
他自身のごく利己的な生存本能の他には何が？
それ以上の何かを答えることはできない。
But by the time Malcolm's story intersects with Aiko's, the narrative threads tie up together quite nicely. As I said earlier, Terminator Zero deserves credit for not trying to retread old ground. It's not another John Connor story, or one with him turning into a Terminator, or dying at the hands of one in the opening few minutes. Sarah Connor is also not present, and thankfully, we don't see the husk of a shell that she was in Dark Fate, and there's no Arnold Schwarzenegger cameo waiting in the wings used to tie it all together.
なるべくこうターミネーターの世界観をアニメで、表現できたらいいなっていうのと、あとはその映像のなんかこう作り方ですね。ターミネーターの残虐性を見せておこうかというシーンです。もともとそのターミネーター1みたいな感じで、ちょっとホラーテイストっていうのにしたい。
I also appreciated that Terminator Zero wrestled with philosophical and moral questions about the value of human existence, the ethics of creation, and the complex relationship between sentience and life, but its approach remained somewhat superficial. The series ultimately concludes with pro-human platitudes of humanity deserving to live despite their flaws, without engaging with its subject matter in any more depth. The character of Kenta is the closest the writers come to showcasing the darker aspects of humanity, beyond Kokoro's visual displays of what humanity had done in the past. Kenta's fierce and unwavering anti-robot stance made him a volatile character, but the show never fully explores how discovering that his nanny is a benevolent cyborg might challenge his beliefs. Showrunner Mattson Tomlin isn't afraid to ask whether humanity deserves to survive, but he stops short of fully engaging with this question. The series hints at a possible continuation, which would be necessary to tie up many of the philosophical and moral discussions that were left hanging in the air. And if it does, I genuinely hope that it gets better in the next season. What is undeniable, however, is that Terminator Zero felt like it breathed new life into a saga that was in desperate need of rejuvenation. While some episodes may feel slightly taxing, especially in the middle, and the philosophical discussions can seem repetitive at times without really going anywhere, I highly recommend Terminator Zero, especially for fans who have been disappointed by the franchise's missteps after T2 Judgment Day.
I'm a fan of the Terminator, and I love this franchise. For me, as a fan, just wanting to have a new piece of Terminator that really makes you go, wow. This took me by surprise, and it made me sit up, and I kind of loved it, and I want more. I think fans deserve that.
ようやく見ていただけることになりますので、楽しみにしていてください。